belum datang. Bukan main.
Harusnya presentasi dulu. Kalau dari sini sih agak siang.
Iya.
Iya. Jam 10.45. Kemarin ngomong ke aku sih, kan nggak tahu bisa jadi duluan.
B3.
Balik kapan mbak?
Oke, belum pada jurusan juga. Apa yang kita share di sana? Di YouTube ya? Link gitu. Cek, cek. Kok fales? Pagi.
Udah lama gak nyanyi di gereja.
Minggu lalu sih. Minggu ini nggak dapat jadwal. Kan nggak pernah ikut ini meeting panitia. Karena gereja.
Karena gereja.
Cek, cek. Oh bagus. Mungkin tadi beat ini dia yang
Info.
masukin
Info bang.
masukin beat trip atau apa tadi?
Oh yang ada gitu.
Sebastian.
Welcome back, everyone, on the third day of Iconic 2024, and good morning. I hope all of you have had enough rest and are ready to present your fascinating research and ideas in today's conference session, such as low carbon development in the built environment here in the Zoom and room ZHG006. Today, we will have two scientific conferences going on in parallel. The conference is with a focus of study political economic of low carbon development within global north and south dynamics in the room ZHG7, and the conference is on low carbon development in the built environment in this room. Alongside the scientific conferences in the main plenary hall, ZHG10, we will have one plenary session with the topic of green financing and sustainable investment for low carbon development, followed by the Meet the Industry presentation sessions, where the diverse companies in the Meet the Industry booths are going to present about what their respective firms have done in the context of low carbon development. Afterwards, there will be a closing ceremony at 15 minutes after the last event of the day. For the lunch breaks, there are several options open for you. First of all, of course, the Indonesian food bazaar available in the foyer sells delicious home-cooked Indonesian dishes available for you to enjoy. You could also buy food from the university's canteen called the Mensa, where you can use vouchers to buy the food there. In addition, do please drop by and visit the Meet the Industry booths in the foyer throughout the Iconic 2024 to find out more about what different companies have to offer in a more personal sense, especially since today is the last day to do so. So, let's get the scientific conference moving with the introducing of our chair for this conference session. To lead the low carbon development in the built environment scientific conference, we have Mr. Zulfikar Adlan Nazir as the chair of this conference session. He is a doctoral candidate in the field of geodesy in the University of Bonn and also a lecturer in the SEM field at the Technological Institute of Sumatra. However, before we continue, we would also like to extend our endless gratitude to our dear sponsor that have helped make Iconic 2024 a reality and supported us in hosting this multi-platform event. We would like to say thanks to our sponsor, which are the Center of Biodiversity and Sustainable Land Use, or CBL, Treo, Kualitas Sertifikasi Indonesia, Astra International, Paragon Technology and Innovation by Living Elita, the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia to Germany in Berlin, as well as the General Indonesian Consulate in Frankfurt and Hamburg. Additionally, we would also like to say thank you to our media partners, such as Imade Andi Arsana, PPI Dunia, and PPI Dunia for the region of America and Europe, Deshawele Indonesia and Ternusantara, Cash Project for Southeast Asia, the Triple Book Club, Lindungi Hutan, DAT Indonesia, and Genau Indonesia. Last but not least, we would also like to extend our gratitude to our knowledge partners, such as the Energy Academy of Indonesia. Without their endless support in this endeavor, we would not have been able to host this Iconic 2024, and thus, all of us would not have been able to have the privilege of meeting here right now. So, I would like to invite Mr. Nazir to come forward and introduce himself, as well as explain the mechanics of the conference. Mr. Nazir, the floor is yours.
Yep, thank you. Good morning. I hope that my sound can be heard. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, the on-site participants, as well as good morning, the online participants. My name is Zulfikar, as was mentioned by the Master of Ceremony. Allow me to help and guide you all through the session, which would be called the LCD for the built environment. We will have 13 presentations, hopefully will be on site, and 9 would be virtual. The range of topics that we cover in our session today was actually pretty diverse. We will talk not only about architecture, but we will also talk about transport, development, design. We will talk about how to coat the steel to make it last longer. And we also even have some additives review in order to reduce the methane emission from the rumen waste. Last but not least, we will also, I think, have some unique presentation, I guess, and I hope, about how to reduce trash burning in one of the villages in Indonesia. So the technicals of the presentation would be, I will give you 10 minutes of presentation for all of the presenters, for on-site and also online, and it will be followed upon by 5 minutes Q&A session. Before the presentation, I will call every presenters forward. Either it would be online or on-site. And my colleague here will also remind the presenters via chat for those who will present online when the time is up, 5 minutes, and then when the time will only last 1 minute. It will also be almost identical for those who present on site. So let's begin with the first presentation, which would be titled The Atelier Pirogue Architectural Design of a Participatory Plastic Upcycling Center in Genvi. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, in Africa. And that would be presented by Sebastian Canovas Quintana, if I'm not mistaken. Please, Mr. Quintana could open the video and also prepare the presentation. The floor is yours for the 10 minutes.
Can you hear me correctly?
Yes?
Hello?
Yes? It's all clear? Please continue. We do.
It's a bit lagging behind, but
Yeah, it's also a bit lagging here as well.
yeah. Well, I will start with it. First of all, I will present the project of Atelier Pirogue, which was an architectural proposal I did together with Geraldo Martinez, who must be there in the audience, at the Technische Universität München, with Professor Francis K. And to go to the setting of the project, we have to go to the country of Benin in West
apologies, Mr. Quintana. I think there's something blocking our view here on the presentation. It probably because, yeah, on the right part of, yes, the right part and also on the top part of the screen. If you could please. Apologies. Yeah. Now only the top part left, but now we have something in the middle. Yes, it's all clear now. Please continue. Thank you.
No problem. So, as I was saying, the knowledge of how to build boats is actually in the town, and it not only generates revenue by selling the boats, but also by attracting tourism to the village. So, with this in mind, we used information from the census of Benin to determine how much waste is generated in Campier. You see, there is the plastic resources to do this, and we found out that there are around 1.5 tons of plastic generated every day in the town. It is a 20,000 inhabitants in the town, so they generate this amount of plastic. The system we conceived was to create a place where plastic is collected, where these boat builders work on the plastic, and they share the knowledge with people that are interested in it, so that the knowledge remains further developed. We thought bringing students from local schools so that this synergy happens between the students and the traditional boat builders. And in this way, boats can be made, and the revenue can be given back to the boat builders and even to the students. Working in this center would not interfere with the school hours. It would be more like an extracurricular activity for them, so that they complement what they learn at school. Then we started researching how plastic is actually recycled, and we found out that the best plastic we use is the number ZHG006, as it is very sturdy and it is very common. It is one of the most common types of plastic. We established these 5 steps of processing the plastic, being inspired by Precious Plastic, a DIY initiative that teaches people how to build these machines by themselves in a very bottom-up way to recycle plastic. And the steps are to first wash the plastic, then sort it, then shred it into small pellets, which are then melted and molded into long plastic parts, which are then used such as wood to build boats. We created this representative design of how a boat could look like, which would weigh around 3 tons, which would mean that to build a boat every month, we need 100 kilos a day to be collected. And the boats could be used themselves to collect more plastic, so to create a self-replicatory system. But the boats themselves are used to collect the plastic, to recycle it, to build more boats. And now to the core of the project, the architectural proposal. We selected a plot of water in the middle of the town, which is here, which has enough space so as not to disturb the neighbors with the sound created in the center or by the whole logistical aspect of it, of waste coming in, of visitors coming in. And the design consists of 2 volumes articulated by this long hallway in the middle. The 2 volumes are one for the production line and the other one for the service functions of the project, the toilets, the offices, the storage rooms, and the other one is really where the plastic is processed. The middle hallway is really the spine of the project. It distributes the people around the building, but also resources such as the water that is collected on the roof. The main production line works like this, from right to left. The waste arrives to the building, it is then washed, then it is shredded and molded into these long bars of plastic, which then are worked in this room into the shape that is actually needed for the boat, and then they are used to build the boat, which is delivered in a celebratory way in the town. The building considers aspects of climatic aspects to make it passive and to guarantee a proper ventilation of the space. the construction of the project, in the bases where it is exposed to water, it has a concrete basis, so to be sturdy and to withstand the pressure of water, and then the rest is made out of wood, according to traditions of architecture of the town. And the images of the project would look like this. This is the main hallway that articulates the building, the main production line, and in the end, this celebration of the creation of the boats. With this way, we think we can propose an idea so that floating villages around the world can face the climate crisis by introducing concepts of the circular economy to make the place more sustainable and to improve the quality of life of the people of Gambia. Thanks a lot for your attention. And now,
Thank you,
I am
Mr.
for
Quintana,
questions
for the nice presentation. We actually still have 30 seconds, but yes, that would not be necessary. Please, if anybody on-site, or online have a question, please raise your hand. There is one from on-site presenters. And is there any from the online presenters? I do not think there's any. So let's go to the first question from the audience, please.
No. Yeah,
That would
thank
also
you.
be good,
Thank you
but-
so much for the chance. Maybe the next presenter is besides me, so I just want to ask him.
Could you please if stand up and move forward so then everybody can see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to ask you about this project. Is it possible if we try to, how to say, applicate this project in Indonesia? Because we know in Indonesia so much, how to say, there is we are more produced waste like plastic waste. So is it possible to do this in Indonesia? I think like that, Sebastian.
Well, thanks a lot for your question. That is exactly the goal that we had, to create a system that can be replicated in all the villages that have this set of problems. And me personally, I have never been to Indonesia, but Geraldus, with whom I made the project, he comes from Indonesia. And we were discussing about it. And what we concluded is that it can be replicated there, because these two problems, the one about plastic and the one about accessibility, are also a problem in that type of villages. So the details would need to be adapted to the particular place where we are working at. But the concept of the project, the core of it, could be used in other places, such as Indonesia.
Yes. Thank you for the good and articulate answer. I do actually have a similar question, but kind of like a follow-up question. You mentioned that it needs to be adapted when we wanted to, so to say, move into another place and then do it in some other new location. My question about that would be, would it still be limited to recycling and making boats out of, so to say, plastic bottles, or we could change somehow the input of the processes, such as probably in Indonesia, there are some location that was filled to brim with the old tires, and I think we could also make a boat out of that. Do you think that would also be possible? And not only that, but could you think that the design, so to say, need to be changed as well?
Yeah, of course. I think that is a very interesting question. We were also, when we were tackling this project, we were thinking, what else can we create out of plastic or out of the waste that generates the town to create something of value? The core principle of this is the same one of the circular economy, to use something that is considered as waste to create something of value, to make this upcycling process. If in Gambia, the problem was very specific to plastic and the lack of boats. So we created this connection. We use plastic to build boats.
But if the problem in a town in Indonesia would be that there are a lot of tigers, we would have to look to analyze what is something that would create value for the community that they don't have, or that this is hard to find, or that is expensive. And according to that, we could adapt this thought process to create the proper building for that environment. And also, it is very important to consider the knowledge of the people. In the case of Gambier, people know how to build boats. So we are only changing the material from wood to plastic. And of course, they have to adapt how to work this material, but the know-how of building boats remains.
Yep.
In a town that is inland in Indonesia, maybe boats are not the right approach,
Yes.
but maybe they can create something of value out of the tigers.
Yeah.
A new framework would need to be created in that case.
Yes.
If I may add.
Yes,
Hello,
please.
Sebastian.
Hello, Geraldus.
Do you see me? All right. So,
see you.
actually, what is important to emphasize is the methods that is put forward here, which is like this social design method. So we basically apply design thinking to solve certain social problems. So a lot of people have done it, and this project is actually just one of the many projects in the series of semester which we did. So this was our bachelor thesis actually with one professor, and many of them actually applied kind of the same method but for different materials. Some collect waste of cloth, some other collects other types of waste, and the problem is actually just how to realize them. So who will fund them, and because we talk also to the people of Ganfie and in Ganfie, and then all of them actually are welcoming such projects, provided that they should be consulted with before. But the problem is just again the funding to manifest the thoughts and projects which are actually already published everywhere by many actors. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a really good addition for the topic. I think the conclusion was we could somehow try to also help to solve the problem, especially in the developing countries, with the design thinking, especially in adding values out of trash, of course, with regard of the local knowledge and also local condition. I think that would be the conclusion from my side. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Quintana.
Thanks a lot.
And
Let's
now,
do the rest of the presentation.
yeah, you're very welcome. Now we'll go to the second presentation, which would be on site. The title would be Shoreline Change Analysis to Support Coastal and Community Sovereignty in the Northern Coast of Java, Indonesia. And the presentation will be given by Piju Marin Sagala. The floor is yours for the 10 minutes.
So, good morning, everyone. I am Pijo Marin Sagala from C4 Aircraft. And in this occasion, I would like to present for us all our research studies. Shoreline change analysis to support coastal and community sovereignty in the northern coast of Java, Indonesia. Next. So the background of this study is that perhaps most of us know that as an archipelago, Indonesia having for sure the largest mangrove area and the second longest coastline in the world. But in fact, Indonesia also for real vulnerable to climate change. And it is estimated that Indonesia having one of the highest mangrove loss rates from the year of 2000 until 2012. And as a home to more than 140 million people, in fact, 56% of Indonesia's total populations, island of Java is already experiencing the impact of climate change. So why are we evaluating the coast? because it is our effort to reduce the climate change impact while addressing underlying causes. Next. So our objectives of this study is that we aim to provide the shoreline change along the northern coast of Java over the past 20 years, from the year of 2000 until 2020, and assess the coastal evolution resulting from human activities from the western part until the eastern part of Java. So we actually like comparing 3 sites from those northern coast of Java, and we can also see that the length of shoreline that we have analyzed through the Banten and Demak and also Banyuwangi Regency. Next. So from the methods, we actually have the satellite data that have been processed and corrected within the analysis to calculate the erosion of accretion in those 3 sites. And then we use the Tassel Cup and NDVI analysis to identify like which color is that the ocean part and then the land. And then we extract those data and then we transect the shoreline within 5 meters intervals. So it is really, really huge data as well. And then at the end, we calculate the shoreline change statistic using the endpoint rate statistic analysis. Next. So from these results of these studies is that, as I already said, that we compare those 3 sites from the Banten, Demak, and Banyuwangi Regency. And from these studies, we actually have the results that, in average, Demak is the most, or we can say the highest erosion throughout all of the sites. Within, we actually got the average level of erosion, such as 8.96 meter per year, followed by the Banten, which also having erosion approximately more than 2 meter per year. And the last is the Banyuwangi, that we can say that in Banyuwangi we have 0.36 meter per year of accretion. So from those 3 sites, Banyuwangi has the most good kind of abilities to reduce the shoreline erosion. And from the length of the coastline, we actually got, comparing from the Demak Regency, we actually have more than 83 kilometers of shoreline having erosion in compared with the accretion only less than 20 kilometers, followed by the erosion accretion in Banten, like 50-50, I could say. And then in Banyuwangi Regency, it is really, really good result as well, because from those length of the shoreline, we got the accretion more than 30 kilometers of those total areas or shoreline length from the Banyuwangi Regencies. Please next. So from this video, we could also see that the comparison of those 3 sites that I would like to present as well in Demak. From the year of 1990s until 2022, we can see the shoreline movement throughout the years. And I could say that more than 2 kilometers from the shoreline from the shoreline through the land having, reduced because of the sea level rise, and then people there also changing the mangrove areas into the ponds. So when the sea level rise is happen, that water from the sea moving to the land part of the Demak Regency. But if we compare with the Banyuwangi Regency, we can see in the northern part of Banyuwangi, they have people and coastal communities there planting the mangroves, and we can see that the expansion of the mangroves throughout the years, from the planting of mangroves since 1997, and then that's why this is one of the reason why the shoreline changes in the Banyuwangi having, the accretion results. And next. So from those 3 sites, we can see the reality of what is truly happening in those 3 sites. We can see in the first one is in Demak, where people there are suffering because of the sea level that is truly rising. Then they have to adapt into those impacts, such as like making kind of coastal barrier in the top side, like you can see the bamboos mechanism that, trapping the sediment, and so the erosion could be reduced. And then in the other side, there is kind of huge projects from the government that make the tollways or roads where this maybe can, giving the pressure from the top of the sediments, while the dam is also like sinking because of the water extraction from the sediment. And then in the last picture, we can see with the flooding, coastal flooding happens, people have to adapt, like adding kind of sediments into their house. And so, for example, when the flooding happens, they could adapt into those conditions. If it compares to Banten having, like Pulau Dua Nature Reserve, that they tend to reserve and conserve the mangroves, as well as making the pond within the, planting the mangrove as well. And so they don't clear the ponds like clearly, but also like planting the mangroves. And then in the other side, and in the other photos, we can see also, the transportation of charcoal happens. It really happens there. That's why that in the last results we can see like 50-50. That's why the accretion and erosion also like competitive. And in the last, in Banyuwangi Regency, as I said before, in the 1997, they tend to, planting the mangroves, and the result is that the mangrove is truly, living there and then having a really huge of plants, and then we can see the mangroves, really facing and also like reducing the coastal erosions. Next. So I would also like to present our local leader, Pak Hendro, and also the Pangpang Bay, within, this kind of coastal communities having a really good movement, such as like making the Pangpang Bay as an essential ecosystem areas in the base of East Java Governor Decree. And they have, processing this kind of regulation since like 2013, and it's just published in 2020. And Pak Hendro have been planting mangrove, as I said, like since 1998, which is in total have planted more than 100 hectares of mangrove areas. And the total mangrove nursery is about 4 hectares with various species, Bruguera, Seriops, Rhizopora, and also Soneratia and Avicennia. Next. So they truly make a really good movement using the mangroves, such as the groups of and local community and ponds. Like they divide the ponds into traditional and semi-intensive, as well as silvo fishery ponds within, making the ponds, but also like planting the mangroves. And they also selling the pond productivity, such as shrimp, crabs, and tilapia, and then also like collaborate to many stakeholders to restore the mangroves, and also making mangrove nursery. And you can see like the barcode that they made to maintaining, and also like to progress the living of the mangroves, but also like making the mangrove products such as syrup and chips from the mangroves, as well as the regulation that are strongly supported by local communities, academics, NGOs, private sector, and other stakeholders. And the last one, next, is our conclusion. From this result in order, areas with erosion to accretion are Demak, Banten, and Banyuwangi. And then the second one is mangroves are proven to be able to withstand the erosion rates that can be supported by coastal communities. And the collaboration between local communities and mangroves can support the climate change mitigation and adaptation much more effectively. Thank you for the time and occasion. Thank you.
Stay here. Thank you, Mr. Sagalo, for the nice presentation. For those who wanted to ask, either in the on-site and also online, please raise your hand. Okay, then I do have one feedback and I do have one question, but let's start with the question. You mentioned about the mangrove solution as one of the, so to say, options or alternative to reduce the effect of sea level rise, I guess. Do you think that those solution or this solution could be applied not only on rural areas, because I think pragmatically when you say mangrove solution, it could only be applied usually on the rural areas. Not only that, but could it also be applied on cities like Jakarta, Samarang, Surabaya, and other big cities in Indonesia?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. So from the prioritizing the programs, the first one is that we have to conserve the mangrove first. Where the mangroves is living, we have to conserve it. But the second one is that a lot of problems, I mean, most of the problems happens in the coastal areas is that they just, planting the mangrove itself, like planting with the only one species, like Rhizopora, because of really cheap of the cost, as well as, to get more, projects to be funded. But that's kind of, I don't know, like, I think that's truly not really good practice because based on the coastal communities in the Banyuwangi that I have learned, they tend to, making sure like which one of the species truly can live in that areas. So that's why they have planted or maybe like making the mangrove nursery, like classifying it into those various of specific species, because they tend to knowing first like how much the salinity, and so what is kind of the structure of the ponds or sediments, and then they also like improving the way how they planted the mangroves. So it's not just like planting the mangrove itself, like putting the mangroves into the sediment, but no, they have truly specific practice, and also like maintaining like how could the mangroves can live more than 2-3 years after that planting or plantations. So the monitoring and also like the validation of all of the planting program is truly, we have to making sure it like be sustainable.
Yeah, it is a long-term project after all, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why you have to collaborate within all of the many stakeholders and coastal communities.
Good. And my feedback would be given, I think, in personal terms after the session, because
Okay.
it will be a technical one.
Thank you.
But thank you for the presentation. Or do you want to ask? I do think so. Yes. Turns out that we have one on-site. Question, please.
So hello, Piju. So I have a question with regard, because what you explained was mostly, I think, in the rural context, and I imagine if there could be any possibility to mix not to mix the method, but to apply the similar coastal line protection, but for urban area. I'm sorry for the simple question. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Actually, one of the site areas, like in the Banten, that is in the Serang city, like rural. And so the way how we present how to planting the mangroves, that should be, how can I say it, better. Like, for example, in Banyuwangi, they have collaborated within the scientific community, like University of 17 Agustus Banyuwangi. And so the way how they plant the mangroves, they have to make sure, like I said, like the salinity, the water informations, the specific or species mangroves that could be live there. For example, like in the simple way, we can see and know from the local community what kind of species of the mangroves that has been lived like 20 years ago there. That is kind of the easiest way how we can know like which one of the mangroves could live there. And so the way how introduce and planting the mangroves, I think, in my opinion, it can be applicable in the rural areas as well. But it have to be in the scientific basic, not just planting it like most of the program in Indonesia. Is it answered? Okay, thank you.
Thank you again for the presentation and the question and answer discussion. Now, let's go to the next presentation, which would be titled Leveraging Indonesia's Demographic Bonus, Repurposing Shipping Containers for Low Budget, Low Carbon Development in Housing by Patrick Paduachandra as on-site presenters. Please welcome. And the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Patrick. I'm currently a student in University College London, majoring in Master of Architecture in Urban Design. Today I want to tell you about my abstract titled Leveraging Indonesia's Demographic Bonus by repurposing shipping containers for low budget, low carbon development in housing. So, before we start, do anyone remember this movie? Yes? Okay. Next. So everyone knows Avatar, right? So one thing that catch my interest is where there is a container-like research base used by the human scientists, which can be deployed across the planet of Pandora, the fictional planet where the Avatar played. This container inspires the abstract that I been wrote. So next. So to begin with, I want to tell you about the Indonesia Demographic Bonus. What it is? The Indonesia Demographic Bonus is Indonesia population status, where the working age numbers is almost doubled the amount of joint number of non-productive age, like the elderly and children. Meaning, Indonesia have low dependency rate and also have a huge amount workforce, dominating more than half of the population in Indonesia. So next. So with this case, the government handled it by initiated a plan, which also called Indonesia Emas 2045. They planning to expand the job opportunities across Indonesia. There are 5 major industries in Indonesia. The first one is manufacturing. The second is retails. The third is agriculture. The fourth is mining, and the last one on the 5 place, we have construction. So the interesting part of these industries are, they need to be located in remote areas, far from the urban area. Because it is not strategic if we fit all the industries in one place. Next. So, to keep in mind, Indonesia is an archipelago. Indonesia has more than 17,000 islands spreading across the equator. This Indonesian geographic condition giving a challenge for Indonesia to expand the job opportunities. Because if we want to aim the balanced development across Indonesia, the job opportunities need to evenly distributed across Indonesia. Like in East Indonesia, we need to distribute it to Papua, Maluku, Nusa Tenggara. On the west side, we need to distribute it in Sumatra. And also in the middle, we have Borneo Island, Sulawesi, and also Java. So in the same time, the government also initiated a plan to relocate the capital city of Jakarta to Borneo Island, which also named Nusantara right now. The intention is the same as distributing the job opportunities, is to decentralize the country management, the economy, and also the infrastructure expansions. Next. Next. Okay. There has come an issue when we need to deploy a lot of people across Indonesia. Consequently, with more people need to be displaced from their homes, we also need a duty to accommodate them with housing. So it's a simple math, more people means more housing. So this housing problem actually have been handled by the companies and also the government by constructing the civil and workforce housing. But it is considered unsustainable because there are two reasons why it is unsustainable. The first reason is the government or the private sector need to demolish or excavate a vast area of land just to create housing. And the second is the housing is still dependent to the performance of the company providing the employment. So when the company goes bankrupt, the housing will lose their management and caretaker and begin to be abandoned. So it's basically a huge waste of carbon waste. Okay, next. Therefore, this abstract aims to give an option, a best option that could endorse environmentally friendly housing. That is repurposing shipping containers. Next. Shipping containers are highly used in Indonesia export-import scene. It is using a high durable material named maritime grade cotton steel, which can survive the extreme weather during the transport. But it has a downside because the material is basically steel, which naturally a conductor. It absorbs heat and cold. Therefore, insulation plays a major role in the design. And fortunately, Indonesia only has 2 seasons, dry and rainy. So the design can be only focused on the heat because Indonesia doesn't has winter. Next. There are several presidents across the world that's already adapting this kind of strategy in housing. There are some examples in Texas, Los Angeles, Toronto, and also in Indonesia, if anyone knows Bobo Cabin. Okay, Bobo Cabin also use this similar type of container like for their villas, for their resorts across Indonesia. Okay, and next, following these precedents, these abstracts, I want to give you the prototype using a standardized containers, accommodating for a single person. The accommodation serves all the features that a basic 1-bedroom studio suite apartment can give. For example, next. So the housing can give you a bedroom area, complete with the wardrobe, the storage, and also the workspace. And also along with the kitchen, the fully functioning kitchen with the dining area. And also adjoined with a fully functioning bathroom, complete with the shower, lavatory, toilet bowls, and also the laundry. So next, not stopping from the basic type, because of due to its modularity, there are opportunities to be explored with the design. So I think the design can be having an add-ons, which can be plugged into the design. Next. For example, extendable tent, which can be used to expand sheltered outdoor areas for the residents. The second is next. The second is steel platforms to make it possible for the containers to be placed in any kind of grounds, hills, rocky mountains, grasslands, and anything. Next, we can also add solar panel roofs to endorse the low energy movement, and then rain harvest roof. Next, please. Rain harvest roof, which can help the resident to save more water. And lastly, a stacking arrangement. So this option can be used for a limited space area, or maybe if the resident have a family of 4. So it can be used for a family. Next. So that's all about the design. Next. So the goal is to give the recommendations or suggestions to replace conventional housing into more sustainable modular housing. So I think in the future it can also be arranged as a compound, which can also replace a fully functioning apartment. Okay, next. Or if the intended function is not well deployed, it can do, because it's modular, it can be used as for people who need it the most, like for example, natural disaster victims who need temporary shelter, or maybe people who displaced because of the civil war or else. So the design can be a fast response, temporary housing for them who needs it. Okay, next. So I hope this simple idea can inspire the government, industries, private companies, NGO, and even individuals to adapt a low carbon development in housing. So therefore we can support the environmental friendly world we are heading to. That's all from me. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to my presentation. Dankeschön.
Thank you, Mr. Chandra. It was thoroughly a thought-provoking presentation, in my opinion. For those in the audience who wanted to ask, please raise your hand. In on-site, 1 and 2. And is there any in online? I do not think so. Okay, let's start with the first one. Mas Taki, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you once again for the valuable insight. I noticed that the durability of containers as housing units has not been discussed in detail. Could you elaborate on the expected lifespan of container-based homes? Additionally, what are the recommended maintenance practices to ensure their long-term sustainability and structural integrity? Thank you.
What do you want to? Okay, yeah. What do you want? Do you want to answer it first? Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, for the durability of the lifespan of shipping containers. So based on my research, shipping containers is basically lasts forever. It lasts forever if we coat it and maintenance it repeatedly. But the shipping company usually use the shipping containers until it decrease the quality to 20%, and they just dump the containers. And in Indonesia, we have a lot of these shipping containers junks. We can find it in multiple, what's it called, pelabuhan, docks, ports, like in Sunda Kelapa ports, or maybe in Merak in Banten. We have a ton of shipping containers that's not been used. Okay, perhaps it's answering your questions.
But how long is the durability of the shipping container as a housing?
Oh, as a housing. Okay, as a housing.
I think the question pertains to if somebody lives in the house, how long he would be expected to be able to stay in the house before the house is, so to say, decayed and
I understand.
unlivable. right?
So
Yes.
I think currently I don't have the exact answer, but as I mentioned before, the shipping containers can last in a long time. So the resident just need to maintain it well, like recoating it maybe every 5 years, and maybe perhaps just change the container shipping or something like that. Okay, I think.
Yeah, thank you for the question and the answer. Let's go to the second one.
Yeah, so should I appear here? Okay, so I disagree with the method that we use a new container, but you said that it's a used container, so perhaps it's much better. But again, you have to transport the container from the docking area to the remote areas, and I think it is far from low carbon. Perhaps one has to think to use the local material instead of using, again, industrially produced materials and transport it with a lot of amounts of energy, right? And I have critical also remarked on the use of insulation module. What kind of insulation will work in Indonesia? Because as far as I know, it will kind of be attacked by the humidity, right? I don't know what is your plan there, and is there already any solution with regard to insulation? Because yesterday we had plenary and there was Pak Lim from BioLiving, and he's kind of suggesting the opposite of what you suggested, which is like a porous materials of weaving, and you kind of want to insulate a very small space in a tropical area. And how will it work with the insulation? What is it for? Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the question. So it also comes quite a problem that I need to solve too. So about the transportation of this container housing, I cannot say it's the most sustainable way to transport this, but if we compare it with transporting materials for conventional housing, I think it costs less carbon to transport a single container instead of a ton of concretes, roofing materials, and floorings and everything else. And about the installations, actually installations is a material that absorbs multiple things. Like we can have insulation for sounds, we have insulation for heat, we have insulation for cold. But what I use in this design is heat insulation using a glass wool. So glass wool is the most sustainable insulation available currently. But hopefully, with the industry becoming more modern, we can, like Pak Lim, we can maybe perhaps explore new materials for the insulation. So I hope the answer satisfies you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I think the contradiction, or in a sense, the disagreements are a good academical exercise. And I do also think that's why I say that it was a thought-provoking presentation, because then we could then have a dialectics and discussion on what would be the best and suitable methods in case of Indonesia in terms of having a, so to say, LCD strategies for building sustainable housing. And it was, again, a really good presentation. Thank you once again for Mas Chandra. Now, there is a slight change and adjustment on the plan, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, or the participant. Allow me to then introduce the next presentation, which would be titled Positioning Urban Sprawl Research Discourse from Broader Perspectives, which will be given by Zulkadri Ansar as an on-site participant. Apologies in advance for Farhan Ega Pramana, that your presentation needs to be delayed. Apologies for that. And please, the floor is yours, Pak Ansar.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Please. Sorry. They need to prepare the presentation first. Amen.
So thank you so much for the chance. Then I'm sorry for who the next presenter, Zul? Farhan, I'm sorry to delay it because I have some agenda after this. So yes, this is my presentation about urban sprawl. This is my research topic in my PhD thesis about urban sprawl. Next. Yeah. Honestly, I prepared this for 45 minutes because this is 45 slides. But yeah, let me try in 10 or 15 minutes for finish this presentation. Then this is the global fact or about urban. Currently 8 billion people, or more than half of the world population, live in urban areas. Then United Nations projects 2050, it's around 70% live in urban areas. Then cities occupy only 3% of the Earth's land, but the main problem is 60 or 80% for energy consumption, then 75% of carbon emissions. So land is not the problem, but the problem is water, energy consumption, carbon emissions. Then the next, only the half of the world's urban population has convenient access to public transportation. Then the last one is urban sprawl, air pollution, and limited open public spaces persist as challenge in cities. Next. Okay, in 1990, there were 10 cities with 10 million people. But today, last year, it's around 45 cities with 10 million people. Then in the coming decades, 95% of urban expansion will occur in developing countries. I think next is, so why does land or urban or rural have to be planned? The first one, because the population. Second one, because human activity. Human activity needs energy, needs water. Then the third one is because limited land. Then the impact is flora and fauna. Then the last one, because we have a disaster risk. The next. Okay, because my topic is about urban sprawl, so this is about global issues or general issues of urban sprawl. Urban sprawl happened because the first one, land conversion. There is many land conversions happening in the urban, suburban area. The next one is about rapid urbanization. Rapid urbanization is in urban area, then spread to the suburban area. The next one is about the changing of economic model. Now we are in transition economic model from industrialization to information and technology. Then the next one is the urban development policies. Sometimes the government have a policies to growth, to develop the urban area in the suburb, like in my like in Indonesia, like in Lampung. We move to the Nusantara, the capital, the new capital from Java to Kalimantan. Then the next one is because the public transport. Most of the cities in Indonesia do not have public transport, proper public transport. Then the last one is about land prices. I think this is why the urban sprawl happening occur in suburban area, in urban areas. Then in the long terms, we have so many potential risk, disaster risk. The first one is lack of public facilities. Then food insecurity, because we have so many land use changing. Then the higher energy consumption. Then the last one is flood disaster. Yeah, next. Okay, I think this one is next. I have 45 slides for 10 minutes. Okay. This is my research gaps. So the first one is literature review. I try to looking for the research gaps. So the research gaps is the lack of integrated theoretical approach of urban sprawl. Then the next one is oversimplification of urban sprawl. Then the last one is need for a new framework of urban sprawl. Next. I got 5 perspectives how to explain the urban sprawl. The first one is neoclassical perspective. What is neoclassical perspective? The neoclassical perspective is space as a platform for economic activities, just for economic activities. So every actors use rational decisions, to make a decisions to optimize the economic outcomes. For economic, the rationale is maximize the benefits and minimize the costs. The next, the second one is the behavioral perspective. What is the behavioral perspective? Every actors in decision making influenced by perceptions, experience, and psychological factors. Next, then the structural perspective. What is structural perspective? Actors in make a decision that's pushed by economic, societal, and political system rather than individual choice or actor choice. Next, then this is the institutional perspective. What is institutional perspective? Institutional perspective views that the social, the economic, the model, the politic, as a dynamic and evolving entities shaped by complex interplay of various interacting elements rather than static like structural perspective. And the last one, 2 minutes left, okay. And the last one is evolutionary perspective. That's the adaptation. So, this is the actors how they make a decision from the perspective. Next, this is the critics and limitation for 5 perspective of urban sprawl. Next, then this is the relevance about the 5 perspective to urban sprawl. Next one. Then this is the novelty of this research is I try to conceptualize the urban sprawl from 5 perspectives. I combine with using dynamic factor analysis. That there are 10 perspectives to explain the urban sprawl. Okay, next. This is the 10 perspective to explain the urban sprawl. Okay, next. Then the Indonesian context. Okay. There are some challenges and trends in urban sprawl in Indonesia. Then next. Okay, next. Okay, next. Then I try to looking for individual size city problem because so many research about urban metropolitan. So my research focus on middle-sized city. Next. I focus on to this city, Bandar Lampung and Makassar. Next. This is Bandar Lampung. Next. You can see this. Next. You can see the sprawling. This is the 2000, previous one? Previous one? Okay, this is 2012. And 1 decade after this is 2012. Yes, this is the sprawl symptom in urban area. This is Mr. Zul's house over there. Okay, next. So, yeah, next. The last one. Just the last one. So, yeah, in this presentation, we have lesson learned from German cities. Previous one? Yes. Okay. Santai, bro. This one. Okay. Lesson learned from German cities. I try to combine the solution. It is, yeah, this is, then the problems of urban planning in Indonesia. The first one is urban planning system. We are in problem in urban planning system. Maybe in Indonesia, the urban planning paradigm starting from land management paradigm, not low carbon development paradigm. This is the most problem in Indonesia. Yes, in Indonesia, the urban planning system is start from land management paradigm. So land security, land grabbing, that's the main issue of urban planning, not low carbon development. So this is the main problem in Indonesia. The second one is corruption. This is happening in Indonesia. Why the urban planning is not work very well? Because we are in problem in urban corruption. Then the second one, the quality of our resource, civil servants. They do not know more about planning. Then the last one, the urban planning products. Yes, this is the problems of urban planning in Indonesia. Then this is the discussion of this session. What is the carbon footprint of urban expansion, maybe per 100 meters? Then the last one, has the city's planning already incorporated low carbon development principles? This is the problem. We are in land management paradigm, not environmental paradigm. So I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ansar, for the
45 slides in
presentations.
10 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, one of the urban sprawl was indeed my house, actually.
We are.
Yeah, we both do. Yes, that's true. Please, for those in the audience who wanted to have a questions, whether it is on site or online, please raise your hand. Okay, then I'll try to ask. My question would be, I think in Indonesia the problem was already, how to say it, chronic, in a sense that the paradigm that was already implemented, which was land management, needs to be changed. But then when we wanted to change it, it could be a long-term change. We cannot change it like on the brink of an eye, right? So what needs to be adapted or changed in a city that so-called was already broken in a sense of the urban sprawl? I mean, the residential area is already there. Should we evacuate them and move to another location, or what should we do with the already broken, in a sense, I don't know the right word actually, about of the city with the urban sprawl? What do you think?
Yeah. This is theoretical answers.
Okay.
I think there is two main answers for your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first one is about how we explain the urban sprawl, how we explain the urban growth or urban planning.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my discipline now, land management, but we are now in environmental paradigm. In urban planning in Indonesia, the most problem is we are still in land management paradigm.
Oh, yeah.
The land security, land grabbing is the main issues, but environmental issues, low carbon issues is not the main issues. That's the second or third issues for our urban planning. The second one, maybe it will contrary or it will try to answer the previous presentation about housing, because you say urban growth related to the housing.
Yeah, yeah.
So the primary perspective in Indonesia that housing is a market demand. But you know, housing is a, how to say, right, constitutional right. In our constitutional, the housing seems like education. Everyone has a right
To have house.
to have house, to have proper education. And you know, we have 20% of our GDP to our education system. But why for housing, there is no any budget for this. We just have subsidized rumah subsidi, low-cost housing. But you know, low-cost housing still in market process, still in market demand. So that's why the developer will try to looking for the land price with cheap.
Yeah, the cheapest land price
And the fact,
to get the
yes,
biggest profit, right?
right.
Yeah.
Then the fact, the cheap land price out of the city
Yeah,
center,
it's always on the peri-urban and on the outside of
beyond the
city center.
peri-urban.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Fortunately, we live in Lampung around 2017 when the land price is not increasing like
Yes.
today.
Yes, yes.
So we live in
In different time, I think. Yes.
yes, close to Bandar
yeah,
Lampung.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the theoretical
Thank you,
answer
thank you.
for
Yes.
this.
Thank you for the answer. I think we still have 3 follow-up questions, and I hope that it will be enough time. Please, the first one, Geraldus.
So, borrowing the term of Selosu Marjan, he once said that in the colonial time we had only duty but no right, and then now we have only right but no duty. So the problem is also that nobody is aware of the people. No citizen, Indonesian citizen, is aware that they are under also a land management regime and also a planning regime. Because once you buy a land, you don't know if it is already designated as a green space or a housing space, but you just buy it, and then you go to your notary, and then your notary will change the function, and then it will be followed up by the urban planner. So you said it one time as the, what is it, discretion-based regime or whatever, instead of the planning-based regime. I think that's one of the problem of the urban sprawl. And then also one that you cannot deny is the overwhelming strength of this one private sector, which is the perumahan developer, small-scale developer, not just big one, and also the government, even government incentivized and subsidized housings who are actually thriving forward this sprawl, and which is actually highly correlated with the private sector. So I think the complete neoliberal term of the housing sector in Indonesia is actually, it needs to be planned. Thank you.
That's really complicated.
It is, yes. No, I think it's not a question, it is kind of like a feedback.
So
Yeah.
thank you, Bang. My question is simple. You mentioned earlier in your presentation there's 4 problems regarding urban sprawls, namely corruption, quality of civil servant, urban planning system, and also one I forgot. But if you were a government or if you were a policymaker, which are out of this problem, which one that you are address first, and the most important, which one would you address first as a policymaker to tackle and to address the urban sprawl problem?
Yeah, thank you. Which one do you want to prioritize out of those 4
Yes.
aspects?
Thank you so much. Honestly, I'm not a government. I just a lecturer. Yes. Let me try if I am mayor of Bandar Lampung. I mean. But yeah, the first one is system. we have to change the system. Urban planning system in Indonesia really complicated. Benang kusut, what you call in English? Benang kusut, like yes, complex, complicated. So I think the first one is system. We have to change the system. Corruption is one of the problem, but because of the system. Our planning system, our urban planning system is really terrible. It's a real problem.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that actually, but I think.
And
we
you
have-
are a vice mayor of Bandar Lampung.
But we have limited time, unfortunately, so we still have one question from the audience, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I think I've missed the majority part of the presentation, so I just want to ask what's the impact of this urban sprawls towards the loss of biodiversity, the water resources, and all other natural habitats that inhibit the land probably before the urban sprawl happening, or maybe the urban sprawl happening in one place and it impacts the other place. You know, what's the effect of it happening in a place? Maybe just a broader perspective, because I'm not too familiar with the topic. Thank you very much.
So the impacts. Yeah. As I said before, urban sprawl is urban expansion to beyond the administrative areas. Then, unfortunately, they changing the land use. There are so many agriculture fields become the urban housing or become the built-up area. The problem is the impact of the land use changing. The first one is flood. There is a flood risk. Will be because the suburban area is a catchment area before the water come to the city center. So that's the problem. Then second one is public facilities. Why public facilities? Because sprawl is spreading in the suburban area. Then public facilities is around in the city center. So if they won't go to the public facilities, they have to use. We don't have any public transport in Indonesia. More than maybe 80% or 85% cities in Indonesia don't have any proper public transport. So the main problem is public facilities, then public transport. This is like domino effect of urban population growth, then urban expansion, then urban sprawl. And after this, there is a many domino effect of this. Sekda of Bandar Lampung. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question and answer session. It was a really good one. And I do hope that in the future, not only you, but all of us could then change the system towards the better one, especially incorporating the low carbon development strategies and make it more sustainable for our child and grandchild. That's it, yes. Thank you, my vice. You're welcome. Yep. Now we're going to have the next presentation, and it would be an online one. But due to the short changes, I think, in the schedule again, apologies again to to Pak Farhan Ega Pramana for the another delay. And please welcome Bu Elvira Apriana, who will present her presentation, which would be titled Automated Eco House, Sustainable Energy by AI-Enabled Hybrid PVT Panels for Decarbonization. The time and stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. So, hello, audience, online as well as the virtual audience. So, I'm Elvira Prianda. I'm from Eindhoven, Netherlands. So, I will be presenting about the topic of automated eco house sustainable energy by AI-enabled hybrid PVT panels for decarbonization. So, yeah, next, please. There are a lot of challenges on this topic, actually, about the low carbon development on the built environment around the world as the climate change also arises. We can see from the news everywhere that in every country in the world, like Germany, England, and also in my home country in Indonesia, the carbon emissions as well as the greenhouse gas emissions is increasing. And also I noticed that as I see the news on the online, the household actually become a major contributor for these carbon emissions. Yeah, next please. So yeah, actually built environment is a serious challenge. And from the data and from the literature that I saw around the article and journal, so approximately 26% of all greenhouse gas emissions and also 37% of combustion-related emissions come from the construction and also the operation of the built environment. All the emissions about carbon and also the greenhouse comes from all phases of the construction process, from the material use, the technology use, and also the construction practice, and also the energy use. Next, please. Yeah, and according to McKinsey Sustainability Report on 2023, so it's quite recent, most operational emissions in household itself, in multifamily house, are caused by space and water heating, followed by another electricity, appliances, and many more. But mostly it comes from the space heating as well as the water heating. Next, please. So in this presentation, I want to give a solution about how we can reduce and also reduce the carbon emission as well as to optimize the energy usage in household for the space and water heating. So as I've mentioned before, the automated eco house connect the solar panels that will be automatically operated and also integrated to artificial intelligence or AI that can significantly enhance the performance of the electricity and space and water heating use. And in achieving the energy efficiency and cost saving as well, AI could change the standard procedures completely from manual to automatic by using this AI. And also we can determine the optimal use of solar panel through this machine that have the specialized algorithm for data analysis based on the AI, and also the data can be stored in the cloud storage. And also AI, sorry, can you, and also AI could be designed to monitor each module and also will connect the inverter. So if we have some issues regarding the solar panel that connects the energy used to the household appliances, we can detect the issues and then we can solve it immediately. And on top of it, we also use the apps that is connected to devices for the phones, so we can monitor and also control the use of this energy by using the AI. Next, please. Yeah, since we activate the solar panel automatically based on the needs, we can save the cost during the operational as well as the system. And since the AI could detect and also diagnose the issues or the problems happening in the household appliances, and with the solar panel, it allows the faster and more effective maintenance because we already know immediately the problem that we have in the house. And also it can reduce the carbon emissions and also the optimization of the energy. Next, please. Yeah, and based on the research done by Hussein in 2019, the use of PVT panels could increase the system's efficiency up to 40%. But just to remind you, this is without the consideration of using AI. So it could be more higher than this because we use the AI. And also, we also cut the carbon emissions up to 92% compared by using the natural gas heating system in the household. And yeah, I think we all know about sustainable development goals. So in 2030, by using this automated eco house, we want to achieve the SDGs especially SDGs number 7 about the energy, SDGs number 9, 11, and also 13 about the climate action. Next, please. Yeah, and then for the expected results, we want to compare by like how the benefit and the advantage by using the automated eco house compared to this fixed system, the solar panel, by doing the manual control. So the automated eco house itself, it is more adaptive, obviously, because we track the system and allow to capture the sunlight more effectively by using the AI, because we can control it, and also it's scalable, so we can have this system, the automated eco house system can be applied anywhere because it is connected to this cloud storage, and also it's cost effective because for the operation itself, for the operation itself, like the higher energy output also leads to the faster return of investment. So we need less cost for the manual operational and also manual maintenance for the manual control. So yeah. And then so at the end, what makes it different? We know there are a lot of solar panels that operated automatically already, but however, we don't know the patterns of the data collected by the solar panel. And by using the AI, we could analyze the solar energy data, and also AI could detect the patterns. And also we have the cloud storage, and then from that patterns and the cloud data storage, we can make the decision based on that data. And for the milestone itself, we could, because maybe the AI still not familiar in the rural areas. So for the milestone itself, we would make a pilot project first in urban area, since the awareness of using AI is higher. And after that, we will expand to another sites, such as rural area where the sunlight as the natural resources is abundant. And we will working alongside the communities and raising their awareness, so we could implement this system, the automated eco house system, in urban area as well in rural area. Yeah. Next, please. So at the end, the recommendation for the automated eco house system, we know there's still a lot of challenges and a lot of maybe issues about like using AI. But for the technical concept of the idea, we need to further analyze and also investigate. So we need to calculate about the energy optimization by using the solar panel connected to the AI. And also for the cost estimation, also need to further calculation to decide the most suitable financing scheme. And lastly, the knowledge gap among the stakeholders, and also, as I've mentioned before, the community awareness may be different from this area and to another area by using the AI for solar panels. So it could take, we need to take into consideration to align the system with also the field deployed implementation. Yeah, and last but not least, thank you for listening and watching my presentation here. And homes should be a safe place for not only human, but also for the earth. So hopefully by using this system, it can be, we could make and create more safer place for human and also for the earth. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. And thank you for keeping the time limit, actually. Please, if anybody in the audience have a questions, either it on-site or online, please raise your hand. Okay, then I do have a question for you. I think the idea was not only good, but also scalable, and I think it also would, yeah, to use a tech pro terms, disrupt also the PVT business. Do you envision, I don't know, sometimes in the future, most probably to make it as a product for a startup?
Yeah, actually, that's also like what I had in mind. So actually, if I can take an example, in Indonesia, we have like a lot of companies producing and also manufacturing the solar panel, such as, if I'm not mistaken, the Solar Power Indonesia and also Solar Panel Indonesia. So I was thinking that maybe we could like not only make the solar panel, actually, we could connect the solar panel that also been manufactured by other companies and then connect it with the communities so we can make use of the solar panel better, because we are not like only producing, but we need to actually raising awareness. So yeah, I think that's a good idea to actually I couldn't say a startup, but maybe we can like be a bridge or maybe be a connector for the communities and also the manufacturers. So we can like work alongside about for this system itself for the communities in urban and also in rural areas. So yeah.
Yeah, because thank you for the answer though. Because I think it could be somehow I think expanded to become as an like e-fishery, if you are aware of what is e-fishery, because I think somehow you could add value not only on the product itself but also on the effectiveness. I mean, based on your presentation. So I think it would be good to most probably to start to also think about how to scale that up, and most I mean, probably could also do it as a startup, or at least to have it maybe in breaking. Do you know Falling's breaking walls? If you do know it.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that before.
I think you could also try to apply that idea as well, because it is a good one. Once again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the input. Maybe we also can like connect and collaborate with other presenter, because I see the other presenter also like give a solution regarding this built environment. Maybe we can connect and also collaborate.
Sure. That would be also a good idea. Thank you.
From
the audience, it turns out that we have one. Please, Bu Agnia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Elvira, for the very inspiring presentation. I also work right now at not a startup, but a company, a small company, which participate in EU projects. And I think they also bring up this similar concept, but they use it in an energy sharing community. So they are having cooperation with the Stadtwerke, so like
State works.
Yeah, and the community. So it's not a startup, but it's like a community. The community will sell their collective electricity to the state, to the Stadtwerke, and then it is a full concept and like a what is it? Yeah,
like a cooperation, or maybe in Bahasa Indonesia,
yes.
like a kooperasi, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. So that no energy is lost, wasted, and everything, like everyone will be benefit for that. Do you think? Because I live in Germany, so I don't know. Maybe you also live in.
I think in the Netherlands.
In Netherlands. Yeah. Okay. But maybe do you know if it's possible to be like the energy sharing community to be done in Indonesia?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the input and also the question. I think that's very possible and feasible, because as you know, we have like abundance of natural resources from the sunlight itself, and then we have a lot of communities living. For example, if I can take an example, a lot of communities live in coastal area. And then for the energy sharing, it is very possible, because not only we provide them with a product such as solar panel, but we also give the opportunity for the communities to work and then maybe can produce the energy and then maybe can sell it or commercialize it to the other, maybe to the companies such as PLN or other thing like that. So I think that's very possible and feasible.
Yes. Thank you for the discussion. I just wanted to add one point, because back in 2020, I tried to install a solar panel at my house, but the bureaucracy to do it was really, really hard. And we need to set up a company only to be able to sell the power to the state. In this case, PLN, as you mentioned, so because it was really too much burden for me, I do not continue to have the solar panel installed. But what I wanted to say is that in Indonesia, we still also have, as mentioned in previous presentation, a really big problem also in the system and in the bureaucracy, I think, and that would also be one of the things that I think we need to be tackled, that needs to be tackled if we wanted to continue the LCD strategies implementation in Indonesia. But thank you again for Ms. Apriana and also Bu Agnia for the discussion. And let's go then to the next presentation, which would be titled, yeah, thank you, sorry for that, which would be titled Tannin and other phenolic compounds, feed additives to reduce methane byproduct of rumen, which will be given by Pak Farhan Ega Pramana via online. Pak Farhan? Are you ready to give the presentation? We cannot hear your voice, unfortunately. You're, I don't know, maybe muted or because we cannot hear your voice. You're still muted. Unfortunately, we still hear no voice. Maybe if you're using a laptop or a PC, you can try to change the source of the microphone. Okay. Okay. Please do so. We sorry for the inconvenience, yeah, to make you wait. Okay, I think, should we wait or? Let's wait for 1 minute, and if it's not able to rejoin in time, we'll continue on with the next presentation. But we'll wait. Eintreten lassen. Pak Farhan, can you hear us?
Hello, could you guys hear me, please?
Yes, your sound is now very clear. The stage is yours for the next 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Farhan Eka Pramana, and I am from Polytechnic of Agricultural Development in Malang. And today I will talk about tannin and other phenolic compounds as feed additive to reduce rumen methane byproducts. Next slide, please. Slide. Where is the slide? Am I?
We're still preparing it. We're still preparing it, sorry.
Okay. Or maybe I just share the screen myself.
We'll do it from here.
Okay.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
All right.
I hope that it's visible now.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Again, apologies
may
for the
I-
inconvenience, and please continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, may peace be upon you. My name is Farneka Pramana, and today I will talk about tannin and other phenol compounds as feed additive to reduce rumen methane byproducts. Next slide, please. So first of all, we're gonna talk about the problem, which is the contribution from the agricultural sector into the greenhouse gas emissions. As we could see in the graphic, there is 10% of the agriculture, and this graphic is released by the US EPA. And similarly, in the global setting, the IPCC, or the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, also accounts that the agriculture sector is accountable about 30% to 21% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, which are dominated by methane and carbon dioxide that came from the livestock and dairy productions. So why is there so much gas that is released from the production of the dairy and livestock? We could please next slide. We could talk about how the ruminants work first. So the ruminants, the ruminants works by doing fermentation to crude fibers, such as the hemicellulose and cellulose, into something that is digestible, that is the volatile fatty acids inside the rumen. So the rumen contains a lot of bacteria that is doing the fermentation for the animal, and after the cellulose and hemicellulose could be converted into fatty acids, it could be finally go into the next stage of the digestion process and be continue into the intestine and be absorbed by the animal. But from the fermentation process itself, as the crude fibers are being rearranged molecularly and also broken down into fatty acids, there are a lot of excess hydrogen that is released by the bacteria from this process. Now, this excess hydrogen is one of the main reasons why the methanogenesis in the animal would be happen and results in a lot of methanes. There's also other sources of excess hydrogen, that is the biohydrogenation process. So the biohydrogenation process is a process to convert the unsaturated fatty acids to saturated fatty acids, as the USFA, or unsaturated fatty acids, is quite toxic to the bacteria of the rumen. So the rumen would try to convert those USFA into SFA, and in this process would also release some excess hydrogen. From those excess hydrogen, some of the bacteria that are responsible for methanogenesis would be converting those excess H2 into CH4 or methane by combining it with the carbon dioxide and also releasing water. So the solution of this is to give a feed additive to stop the biohydrogenation and methanogenesis process, and also not to mention that from this process we also encounter a lot of other problems, which are the inefficient feed intake, because a lot of the nutrients that could be absorbed are being released as methane. There's also the conversion of unsaturated fatty acid into saturated fatty acid that could give the end product, which are the dairy and the beef, more likely to contain saturated fat, and it is bad for our health. So by using the feed additive, we could mitigate this. So next slide, please. Next, we are going to talk about tannin, how tannin could be the solution of our problem, which are the methanogenesis itself, also the the degradation of the final product by excess saturated fat and also the inefficient feed intake, we could use tannin to mitigate those. So what is tannin? Tannin is a phenolic compound that is found in a lot of in various plants, and usually tannin will have a property that is bitter in taste and in smell. So the tannin exists as an anti-nutrient that could inhibit the digestion and absorption process in animals, so that those animals won't eat the plants that contains tannins. But from there we know that despite the anti-nutritional properties, the tannin could also help us by inhibiting the bacteria that is responsible for methanogenesis and biohydrogenation. That is because tannin has a function that is bactericidal activity. So the tannin could kill bacteria that is responsible for the process. From this property, we could see that tannin have shown that the potential for reducing methane emission is around 30% to 16%. But we need to give it with considerate amount, as tannin is still an anti-nutrient and it is toxic for animals if given in too much dosage. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we know that Indonesia is a big warehouse of a lot of medicinal plants that contains tannin and a lot of other phenolic compounds. For example, is the Kaliandra, and then Leucenia or Lamtoro, if you ever heard about it. Also papaya leaves or carica. Next is mangosteen, which is with skin, but it is not tannin, it is another compound, another phenolic compound that is also beneficial. Basically any phenolic compounds, not only tannin, but why tannin? Because it is abundant. Found in a lot of plants, mainly legumes. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a recap from what I just said before. Tannins found in a lot of medicinal plants in Indonesia, and it could affect rumen digestion, especially regarding methanogenesis. And from the conclusion that is on screen, I would also give another conclusion, another recap, that is tannin could also helps with the final product of the animal itself, which are beef and dairy, and they would have more unsaturated fat, as the fat is not going through the biohydrogenation process, and the quality is much higher and would be more healthy for human consumption. And also the feed intake is better, and by that I mean that the animal could eat less feed could eat less feed, but gain a lot of nutrient from it, and there's not a lot of nutrient that is thrown out from the methanogenesis process. And last but not least, the tannin supplementation should be given with considerate amount, since excess consumption could lower the feed intake because it is still have the anti-nutrient properties. Okay, next slide. Yes, that is my presentation, and also thank you for the opportunity. And it's Dewi Radya Hidani, which is my professor, which helps me with this presentation, and also this was her thesis, her dissertation during her doctorate in Gajah Mada University. Okay, thank you. That is my presentation.
Thank you.
And this is going back to the moderator. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Pa Farhan, for your presentation and also for the patience to be delayed not only one time but also 2 times. Please give applause to Pak Farhan. Good. For anybody in the audience, whether it is on site or online, probably have any question, please raise your hand. No, then I will ask. Probably for some context, what Pak Farhan tried to do here is, I think, to reduce the amount of methane which in some discourse, especially in Twitter discourse, dubbed as cow fart, I think, right? Because
Yes.
then it is one of the most prominent methane sources, I think, if we take a look into the global greenhouse gases emissions. Pardon me if I'm wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So, yeah, my question would be that there are 2 questions for me. The first one, you mentioned about the source of tannins such as lam toro, if I'm not mistaken, and also papaya leaves. Do you think it is affordable for ranchers or petani or peternak for the cattle, especially to apply your suggestions or your advisor's suggestions to use tannin? That would be my first one,
Okay.
please, if you could answer it.
Immediate answer. It is would be cost effective because one of the most common is the gamal or the Glyceridaria, and gamal is used in a lot of feed ransom for the animal, and it is cost effective as far as I know, because we have done it in the Polytechnic of Agricultural Development. We also have farm there, which we also experiment with our animals by including herbal, and one of them is the legume.
Yep, thank you for the answer. We have one question from the online audience. Pak PSP Danang asked, have you tried Asparagopsis seaweed to reduce methane in cow farts? And he also curious whether urea fertilizer can be used as rumisan for cattle.
Okay, the answer is for seaweed. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of not explored yet ingredients that could be used as feed additive. And as the presentation was mentioned, there's a graphic about the most efficient feed additive, and one of them is the seaweed. For Asparagopsis seaweed, I don't know what the compound that is contained by the seaweed, but usually what helps with digestion is herbal compounds or phenolic compounds, which are having some special properties, which are mostly medicinal. And yes, it might be used for feed additive. As about fertilizer or urea, I don't think that it could be used as rumisan, as excess nitrogen is also not good for cattle, and also excess nitrogen would contribute to more nitrous oxide from the cattle itself. Maybe that's my answer. Sorry if I am wrong, but that's all I know for right now.
Thank you for the input. I think, it would be a good outlook, at least for you personally, if you wanted to continue with the research, probably to use seaweed or specifically the Asparagopsis seaweed, probably, maybe in your thesis or later, maybe in your dissertation, hopefully, right? But yeah, thank you for the presentation once again, and to the question and answer session, Pak Farhan. Please give applause to Pak Farhan once again, the audience. And we'll come to the next presentation, which would be titled Carbon Offset Methodologies for Renewable Energy Sectors in Indonesia, which will be given by Pak Maximilian Gala Permana via online. Before we start, let us prepare the presentation first. Mr. Permana, I hope that you're ready to present. Could you check your mic, whether it is working or not? We couldn't hear your...
My voice is clearly enough.
Yeah, we hear it clearly. Please wait for the slides. I hope that it should be done in a jiffy. Yes, the stage is yours, Permana.
Okay, thank you for PP Chairman Iconic to allow us, Indonesia, to present our study regarding the carbon offset methodologies for renewable energy sectors in Indonesia. My name is Gala. I'm the co-founder of Indonesia. Maybe next first slide. Okay, first I will present about Indonesia, continued with the introduction for this project. And the development stage continue with the methodology, Carbon Project Indonesia, and the best methodology that it's developed by the UNFCCC or by Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup and Energi Sumber Daya Mineral, Energy Ministry. And last but not least, I will present the discussion regarding our study. Okay, next. So actually, Indonesia is established by Indonesian German alumni. For me, for example, I studied in Germany and then I did my master in Berlin and I did my master in TU Clausthal, and then back to Indonesia, and we with my college from Germany in Indonesia we established Indonesia actually as our side hustle. Basically, we make this platform to make energy sustainable